The night sky over Viridian 7 burned red and orange. Explosions lit up the darkness like angry stars falling to earth. Do-hyun pressed his back against the broken wall, breathing hard. His medical pack felt heavy on his shoulders. Around him, the forward base was dying. "Medic! We need a medic!" Someone screamed from across the compound. Do-hyun wanted to help. He really did. But between him and that voice were 3 Valkyrie soldiers, their reptilian faces hidden behind combat helmets. They moved through the smoke like ghosts, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. He counted his options. There weren't many. The war had been going on for 5 years now. 5 long years of humans fighting the Valkyrie Empire across a dozen planets. Do-hyun had seen 18 months of it. That was enough to last him a lifetime. He had joined as a medic because he wanted to save lives, not take them. War had other plans. Another explosion shook the ground. Do-hyun's radio crackled with static and screaming. The base was lost. Everyone knew it. The Valkyrie had hit them with everything they had. Surprise attack in the middle of the night. By the time the alarms went off, enemy soldiers were already inside the walls. "Fall back! All units fall back to secondary positions." The command came too late for most. Do-hyun ran. He wasn't proud of it. But staying meant dying. And dead medics couldn't help anyone. He sprinted through the ruins of the barracks, jumped over debris, and ducked under a collapsed beam. His lungs burned, his legs ached, but he kept moving. That's when he heard it. A small sound, almost lost in the chaos of battle. A whimper. A child's cry. Do-hyun stopped. Every instinct told him to keep running. The evacuation ships wouldn't wait forever, but his feet wouldn't move. He turned toward the sound. In the rubble of a destroyed storage building, something moved. Do-hyun approached carefully, his hand on his sidearm. Friend or enemy? In war, that question mattered. He pushed aside a broken panel and froze. A Valkyrie child stared back at him. She couldn't have been more than 6 or 7 years old. Her scales were lighter than an adult's, soft green instead of dark emerald. She clutched something in her small hands. A communicator, broken and useless. Blood ran down her arm. Her large eyes were wide with terror. For a moment, they just looked at each other. Human and Valkyrie. Enemy species. The child whimpered again, pressing herself deeper into the rubble. Do-hyun's training said she was the enemy. Valkyrie, even young ones, were dangerous. Let her die here, or finish it quickly. That's what his instructors had taught him, but Do-hyun looked at her injured arm, at her terrified face, and saw only a scared child. "Hey," he said softly, lowering his weapon. "I'm not going to hurt you." She didn't understand his words. Humans and Valkyrie didn't speak the same language. But maybe she understood his tone. She didn't run. Do-hyun pulled out his medical kit. Slowly, carefully, he showed her the bandages. The child watched him with those huge eyes. When he reached for her arm, she flinched but didn't pull away. His hands worked quickly, cleaning the wound and wrapping it. Basic field medicine. It would hold. The sky suddenly lit up brighter than day. Do-hyun looked up and his heart sank. Plasma bombardment. The Valkyrie ships were firing on the base from orbit. They didn't know their own child was here. Or maybe they didn't care. War made people cruel. The first blast hit 200 meters away. The shockwave knocked Do-hyun to his knees. The second hit closer. The third was right on top of them. Do-hyun didn't think. He just moved. He grabbed the Valkyrie child and pulled her close, covering her small body with his own. His armor would protect him. She had nothing. The world exploded. Heat washed over him like standing too close to a furnace. His armor's shields flared, absorbing the worst of the energy blast. But shields couldn't stop everything. Pain erupted across his back and legs as plasma burned through weak points in his suit. Do-hyun screamed, but he didn't let go of the child. Another blast. More pain. He could smell his own flesh burning. His vision blurred. But underneath him, the little girl was alive. He could feel her breathing, feel her small heart beating fast like a frightened bird. "It's okay," Do-hyun whispered, though he wasn't sure if he was talking to her or himself. "It's okay." The bombardment continued. How many hits? 5? 10? He lost count. Each one brought fresh agony. His armor was failing. He could hear the warning alarms in his helmet. Critical damage. Multiple systems offline. Medical alert. Then, silence. The blasts stopped. Do-hyun tried to move. His body wouldn't cooperate. Everything hurt. Everything. He managed to roll onto his side, releasing the child. She scrambled away from him, unhurt except for the bandaged arm. She stared at him with those big eyes, full of confusion, and something else. Recognition. Maybe. Understanding. "Good," Do-hyun managed to say. "You're okay. That's good." His vision was fading now. Blood loss. Maybe. Shock. Definitely. He could hear voices in the distance. Valkyrie voices. They were coming. The child made a sound, not quite a word, and touched his burned hand gently. Then darkness took him. When the Valkyrie recovery team arrived, they found something impossible. One of their children, alive and protected, wrapped in a human soldier's arms. The human was barely breathing. His armor melted and broken. His body covered in burns that should have killed him. But he had held on just long enough to make sure the child survived. The team leader, a veteran warrior named Taeho, stared at the scene for a long moment. He had killed many humans in this war. He had seen them as weak, as inferior. But this one had done something no Valkyrie warrior would have believed possible. He had sacrificed himself for an enemy child. "Take them both," Taeho ordered. "The child goes to medical. The human goes to containment." "Sir, he's nearly dead." "Why not just—" "No." Taeho cut him off. "Someone needs to answer for what happened here. And I want to know why a human would do this." They carried both the child and the unconscious human away from the burning base. Behind them, the last evacuation ships lifted off, carrying the surviving human forces away. In their reports, they would list Do-hyun as missing in action, presumed dead. They had no idea how wrong they were. Do-hyun's war wasn't over. It was just beginning. But now he would fight a different kind of battle. One that had nothing to do with weapons or armies. He would fight for something much harder to win than any military victory. He would fight for understanding. Pain was the first thing Do-hyun felt when consciousness returned. It started in his back, spread through his legs, and seemed to live in every nerve of his body. He tried to move, and immediately regretted it. A groan escaped his lips before he could stop it. "He wakes." The voice was female, speaking in a language he didn't understand. But the tone was clear. Surprise, maybe. Or curiosity. Do-hyun forced his eyes open. The room was dim, lit by soft blue lights that didn't hurt to look at. He was lying on something that wasn't quite a bed, more like a medical table, and he wasn't alone. A Valkyrie woman stood near him. She was tall, taller than most humans, with dark green scales that caught the light. She wore what looked like a military uniform, clean and formal. Her face was hard to read, reptilian features showing no obvious emotion, but her eyes watched him carefully. "Where?" Do-hyun's throat was dry. His voice came out as a rasp. "Where am I?" Do-hyun's throat. Do-hyun's throat. "Where am I?" Do-hyun's throat. Do-hyun's throat. The woman tilted her head. She said something in Valkyrie, then seemed to realize he didn't understand. She touched a device on her wrist and spoke again. This time, a mechanical voice translated. "You are in medical facility, Valkyrie military base. You have been unconscious, for 8 days. 8 days. Do-hyun's mind raced. The battle. The child. The bombardment. He remembered covering her body with his own, remembered the pain of plasma fire. After that, nothing. The child, he said urgently, trying to sit up. The little girl? Is she? Strong hands pushed him back down. Not roughly, but firmly. The woman spoke again, and the translator followed. Nari lives. Because of you. She is my daughter. Do-hyun relaxed back onto the table. Relief flooded through him, stronger than any painkiller. Good. That's good. The woman studied him for a long moment. Her expression was still hard to read, but something in her eyes had changed. I am Hana, commander in Valkyrie fleet. I come to see the human who saved my child. Do-hyun, he said. My name is Do-hyun. Hana nodded slowly. She moved to a chair near the table and sat down. For a while, neither of them spoke. The silence stretched, broken only by the quiet beeping of medical equipment. Finally, Hana spoke. You took plasma strikes meant for her. 4 direct hits. Any Valkyrie would have died from 1. You survived 4. Lucky armor, Do-hyun said weakly. No. Hana's translated voice was firm. Your armor failed after 2nd strike. You survived on your body alone. Human bodies are more resilient than we knew. Vording. Do-hyun didn't feel resilient. He felt like he'd been hit by a truck. Several trucks. But he didn't argue. Hana leaned forward. Why did you protect her? She is enemy. You are soldier. Why not let her die? It was a good question. Do-hyun had asked himself the same thing in the moment before he'd grabbed the child. He still didn't have a good answer. She was just a kid, scared and hurt. You are enemy combatant, Hana said. The translator made her words sound clinical, but there was something else underneath. My commanders want you dead, want to execute you, or use you for information about human forces. Do-hyun's stomach tightened. He had known he was a prisoner, but hearing it out loud made it real. Are you going to? Hana was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her words came slowly, carefully chosen. In Valkyrie culture, we have ancient law. Life debt. You saved my daughter's life at cost of your own. By our tradition, my family owes you life debt. This is sacred thing, not to be broken. I don't understand, Do-hyun said. It means you own piece of my family's honor, cannot be executed, cannot be tortured, must be protected. Hana stood up, pacing the small room. But you are also enemy. My commanders do not like this situation. They want simple solution. And you? Hana stopped pacing. She looked at him directly. 2 years ago, humans killed my mate. Your people took him from me and from Nari. I hated all humans. Wanted revenge. Wanted to kill every one of you. Do-hyun said nothing. What could he say? The war had taken people from both sides. Hana continued. Then you did impossible thing. You protected my daughter when you should have left her to die. You took pain and injury to save enemy child. This does not match what I believe about humans. She moved closer to his table. I do not know what to think anymore. What happens now? Do-hyun asked. Now you are my guest prisoner. You stay under my personal custody. My commanders agree because of life debt law. But make no mistake, you are still prisoner. Still enemy. Just protected prisoner. It wasn't freedom, but it was better than execution. Do-hyun nodded slowly. I understand. Over the next few days, Do-hyun learned more about his situation. He was confined to a small room in Hana's residential quarters. His injuries were healing, faster than Valkyrie doctors expected. They seemed fascinated by human healing abilities, always running tests and asking questions. Hana visited him every day. Sometimes she brought food, Sometimes she just sat and talked, the translator device between them. She told him about Velkari culture, their history, their traditions. In return, he told her about Earth, about why he'd become a medic, about his sister Jiwan, who worried about him constantly. On the 5th day, Hana brought someone else. A small figure hid behind her legs, peeking out nervously. Nari wanted to see you, Hana said. She has nightmares, dreams of bombardment. Only stops crying when I tell her the human guardian is safe. Do-hyun's heart clenched. The little girl stepped out from behind her mother. Her arm was healed, the bandage gone. She looked at him with those big eyes, then did something unexpected. She rushed forward and hugged his hand, the only part of him she could reach while he was lying down. She said something in Velkari, soft and quick. Do-hyun felt his throat tighten. Tell her she's brave too, and strong. After that, Nari visited often. She brought him drawings she'd made, pictures of stars and ships, and sometimes of him protecting her in the bombardment. She couldn't speak his language and he couldn't speak hers, but somehow they communicated. She would sit by his table and color while he rested. Her presence was oddly comforting. 3 weeks into his captivity, Do-hyun was finally allowed to walk. His burns had healed into scars, thick and angry looking across his back and legs. The Velkari doctors said he was lucky to walk at all. Humans were surprisingly tough, they said. It was becoming a common observation. Hana showed him her home properly. It was modest for someone of her rank. Clean, organized, military precise. But there were touches of life too. Nari's toys in one corner, pictures on the walls, including one of Hana with a male Velkari who must have been her mate. He was good warrior, Hana said, noticing Do-hyun looking at the picture. Died in assault on human outpost. I was angry for long time. I'm sorry, Do-hyun said, and meant it. Hana looked at him strangely. You apologize for war? You did not kill him. No, but war kills everyone eventually, even the ones who survive. Something in Hana's expression softened. Yes, this is true. That evening, they shared a meal together. Hana, Nari, and their enemy prisoner. It should have been awkward. Instead, it felt almost normal. Nari chattered in Velkari, excited about something at her school. Hana listened patiently, occasionally translating bits for Do-hyun. As he sat there, eating alien food with alien people who should have been his enemies, Do-hyun realized something. The war hadn't ended. Humans and Velkari were still killing each other across the galaxy. But in this small room, on this one evening, there was peace. It was a fragile peace, built on one act of compassion and protected by ancient laws. But it was real. Do-hyun didn't know it yet, but this moment would change everything. Not just for him, not just for Hana and Nari, but for the entire war. One human medic, one Velkari commander, and one saved child. The real test was still to come. 2 months had passed since Do-hyun woke up in the Velkari medical facility. His body had healed remarkably well, though the scars remained. The Velkari doctors stopped being surprised by human resilience and started being impressed instead. But healing from physical wounds was easier than healing from the complicated situation he found himself in. The morning started like any other. Do-hyun was in the small training room Hana had grudgingly given him access to. He needed to stay strong, keep his body ready. For what? He wasn't sure. Escape? Return to human forces? Or maybe just to feel like a soldier again, instead of a prisoner, no matter how well treated. He was halfway through his exercise routine when Hana entered. Her face looked troubled. We have problem, she said. The translator had become so familiar that Do-hyun barely noticed the mechanical voice anymore. Taemin arrives today. Intelligence officer from Central Command. Do-hyun stopped his exercises. To interrogate me? Yes. Hana crossed her arms. He has authorization to extract information about human military operations. By any means necessary. But the life debt protects you from execution, not from questioning. Hana looked frustrated. I will be there. We'll try to prevent harm. But Taemin is powerful, has authority from high command. 3 hours later, Do-hyun sat in a cold metal chair in a room he hadn't seen before. It looked like every interrogation room in every military base across the galaxy. Plain walls, harsh lighting, a table bolted to the floor. Hana stood in the corner, her face unreadable. The door opened. Taemin entered, and Do-hyun understood immediately why Hana was worried. The Velkari officer was older, his scales darker and scarred from many battles. He carried himself with absolute authority. His eyes, when they fixed on Do-hyun, were cold and calculating. Taemin spoke, and the room's translator system carried his words. Human prisoner. Do-hyun, you will provide information about your military base locations, troop numbers, and defensive capabilities. I'm a medic, Do-hyun said calmly. I don't have access to that kind of information. Everyone has information. It is just matter of proper motivation to share it. Hana stepped forward. Life debt law protects him from physical harm. Taemin didn't even look at her. Life debt protects from death and permanent injury. It does not protect from discomfort. There are many ways to cause pain without causing lasting damage. Do-hyun felt his stomach tighten but kept his face calm. He had been through resistance training. He knew torture was always a possibility if captured. But knowing it and facing it were different things. I don't know anything useful, Do-hyun said. I treated wounded soldiers. I didn't plan battles. For the next hour, Taemin questioned him relentlessly. Where were the human supply lines? What were the defensive protocols? How many troops at each base? Do-hyun answered truthfully when he could, and claimed ignorance when he couldn't. It was exhausting. Finally, Taemin stepped back. You are either very ignorant or very well trained. Either way, we will discover which. He nodded to guards. Do-hyun hadn't noticed by the door. They brought forward a device that hummed with energy. This will cause significant pain, Taemin said matter-of-factly. But no permanent damage. Life debt will not be violated. Hana moved between Taemin and Do-hyun. No, I forbid this. You forbid? Taemin's voice was dangerous. You are commander, yes, but I have authority from Central Intelligence. Life debt gives you certain rights, but it does not give you right to harbor enemy intelligence. He has no intelligence to give. Then the procedure will be short. The argument might have continued, but everything changed in the next moment. Alarms screamed throughout the facility. The lights flickered. Taemin grabbed his communicator, barking questions in rapid Velkari. The translator caught fragments. Attack. Internal. Assassination attempt. Hana's eyes went wide. Nari. She is in residential section. She ran. Do-hyun didn't think. He just followed, ignoring the guards who shouted after him. His legs burned as he sprinted through corridors he'd only seen a few times. Hana was faster, but he kept pace through sheer determination. They reached the residential area to find chaos. Smoke filled the hallways. Energy weapons fired. Through the haze, Do-hyun saw them. 3 Velkari in unmarked armor, different from the standard military gear. They were fighting toward Hana's quarters. Toward Nari. Hana engaged them immediately, her own weapon drawn. She moved like water. Fast and precise. But there were 3 of them, and only 1 of her. Do-hyun saw one of the attackers aim at her back while she fought the other 2. He didn't have a weapon, didn't have armor, didn't have anything except the same instinct that had made him cover Nari during the bombardment. Do-hyun threw himself forward, slamming into Hana just as the energy blade activated. The blade, meant for Hana's neck, caught Do-hyun across the shoulder instead. Pain exploded through him, white-hot and terrible. But he'd changed the trajectory. Instead of a killing blow, it was just a deep cut. Just. The word was laughable. Blood poured from the wound. Hana rolled, coming up with her weapon aimed. She fired 3 times. 3 perfect shots. The attackers went down. More guards arrived, summoned by the alarms. They secured the area quickly. Hana knelt beside Do-hyun, her hands pressing against his bleeding shoulder. Why? Why did you do that? Couldn't let them hurt you. Do-hyun managed through gritted teeth. Nari needs her mother. Medical teams arrived. They worked on Do-hyun right there in the hallway, stabilizing the wound. Hana stayed beside him the entire time, her hand on his uninjured arm. Around them, security forces checked every room. They found Nari safe, hiding in a reinforced closet, just as her mother had taught her. Later, after the doctors had stitched and sealed Do-hyun's shoulder, after Nari had cried and hugged him carefully, after the base had returned to some form of normal, Hana sat beside his medical bed again. The attackers were from extremist faction, she said quietly. They believe I am traitor for protecting you, for honoring life debt with enemy. She paused. They wanted to kill me and Nari. Send message to others who might seek peace. There are people who want peace? Do-hyun asked. Some. Not many. But some. Hana looked at him strangely. You took blade for me. Second time you sacrifice yourself for my family. This is not normal. Valkyrie do not do this for enemies. Humans are not supposed to do this at all. Maybe humans aren't what you thought we were. Hana was quiet for a long moment. No, I do not think you are. The next day, Taemin came to see Do-hyun. The intelligence officer looked different somehow, less certain. I saw security footage, he said. Saw you take blade meant for Commander Hana. You could have escaped in confusion. Could have let her die. Instead, you protected her. Do-hyun shrugged his good shoulder and immediately regretted it as pain flared. Yeah. Why? Because it was the right thing to do. Taemin studied him for a long time. I have interrogated many humans. Hurt many. Killed some. All of them, I believe to be weak. Inferior. But you. He trailed off. You are not weak. Your body heals impossibly fast. You survive wounds that kill Valkyrie. You endure pain without breaking. And you protect, even those who are enemy. So no more interrogation? No more interrogation, Taemin agreed. You have no useful intelligence anyway. You are just medic, as you said. But more importantly, he paused. You have made me question things I believed for many years. That is worth more than any military intelligence. After Taemin left, Hana returned with news. There will be prisoner exchange in 3 months. Humans have agreed to trade captured Valkyrie for captured humans. You will be on the list. Do-hyun should have felt relief. Going home. Returning to his own people. Instead, he felt conflicted. And, Nari? She will miss you. We both will. Hana sat down. But you deserve to go home. Deserve to be free. 3 months. It seemed like a long time. And no time at all. In those months, everything would change again. But Do-hyun didn't know that yet. He only knew that somewhere along the way, the enemy had become something else. And going home had become more complicated than he ever imagined. The neutral space station floated between territories, belonging to neither humans nor Valkyrie. It was ugly and functional, built for one purpose: exchanges, prisoners, information, sometimes bodies of the fallen. Today, it would serve as the site of the largest prisoner exchange since the war began. Do-hyun stood in the Valkyrie delegation area, wearing a simple gray uniform they'd given him. His scars were hidden beneath the fabric, but he felt them constantly, physical reminders of everything that had happened. Beside him, Hana stood in full military dress. Nari held her mother's hand tightly, her small face worried. You do not have to be here, Do-hyun told Hana quietly. This must be hard for you. Nari wanted to say goodbye properly. Hana's voice was carefully neutral. and I am still responsible for you until the exchange is complete. Epso. Nari. Epso. Epso. Through the station's large windows, Do-hyun could see human ships docking on the other side. His people. His side. After 5 months of captivity, he should have been thrilled. Instead, his stomach churned with complicated emotions he didn't want to examine too closely. The exchange chamber was massive, split down the middle by a transparent barrier. On one side, Velkari prisoners waited to return home. On the other side, humans did the same. Do-hyun recognized some faces from his own base. Soldiers who had been captured in various battles. They looked thin and tired, but alive. A human officer approached the barrier. She was young, probably in her early 30s, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense expression. When she saw Do-hyun, her face lit up. Do-hyun. She pressed her hand against the barrier. Thank God you're alive. Do-hyun moved closer. Ji-won? His sister looked older than he remembered. Command responsibilities did that to people. She wore a captain's insignia now. We thought you were dead. The report said MIA. Presumed KIA. I've been fighting to get you on every exchange list for months. I'm okay, Do-hyun said. They treated me well. Ji-won's eyes moved to Hana, then to Nari, then back to Do-hyun. Understanding flickered across her face. I see. The formal exchange process began. A Velkari official and a human official met in the neutral zone between the barriers. They verified identities, checked documentation, confirmed that all prisoners were accounted for. It was slow and bureaucratic, but necessary. Then came Do-hyun's turn. The human official called his name. Do-hyun, Human Combat Medic. Service number 7,743 Delta. Confirmed for exchange. Do-hyun started forward. Nari's small hand grabbed his. Don't go, she said in Velkari. Do-hyun had learned enough of the language over the past months to understand. Please don't go, Guardian. His heart broke a little. He knelt down to her level. But this is home now, Nari said, tears streaming down her face. Your family. Hana gently pulled her daughter back. Let him go, little one. He has his own family waiting. The Valkyrie official gestured impatiently. Do-hyun stood and walked toward the barrier. It slid open. He was 3 steps into the neutral zone when Hana's voice rang out. Stop. Everyone froze. The Valkyrie official turned. Commander Hana? Is there a problem? Yes. Hana moved forward, her posture rigid and formal. I invoke my right as holder of life debt. This prisoner cannot be released. Chaos erupted. The human official started shouting. Ji-won pressed against the barrier, demanding to know what was happening. Other Velkari officers looked shocked. The exchange coordinator, a third-party mediator, tried to restore order. Commander Hana, the Velkari official said carefully. The exchange was approved by Central Command. The human is cleared for release. Life debt supersedes military orders, Hana said coldly. Ancient law. This human saved my daughter's life. The debt is unpaid. He remains under my custody. Ji-won's face had gone red with anger. This is hostage-taking. You're violating the exchange agreement. I am exercising my legal rights under Velkari law, Hana replied. The human stays. Do-hyun stood in the neutral zone, caught between 2 sides, understanding flooding through him. This wasn't about the life debt. Or maybe it was, but not in the way everyone thought. He looked at Hana's face, saw the tension there, the fear hidden beneath formal coldness. And he understood. I need to speak with Commander Hana, Do-hyun said loudly. Privately. 5 minutes. Absolutely not. The human official protested. You're being released. You don't need to. 5 minutes, Do-hyun repeated, looking at Ji-won. Please. His sister stared at him for a long moment, then nodded to the human official. Give them 5 minutes. This is complicated. They found a small room off the main chamber. Hana, Do-hyun, and Nari. The door closed behind them, muffling the chaos outside. What are you doing? Do-hyun asked quietly. You're causing a diplomatic incident. Hana looked away. I cannot let you go. The debt. This is not about debt. Hana's control finally cracked. They will kill you. Do-hyun. Extremist faction. They have agents on human side too. Humans who want this war to continue forever. They know your face now. Know what you represent. You go back to human forces. You will die within a week. Do-hyun hadn't considered that. You're protecting me? Still? Yes. Hana's voice was quieter now. And I am being selfish. Nari needs you. She has nightmares when you are not near. She calls you guardian and feels safe. And I... She paused. I have been working on something. Secret negotiations with human peace advocates. Trying to find a way to end this war. But I need proof that humans and Valkyrie can coexist. I need you. You want me to stay? For real? Not as prisoner anymore. As free person. As cultural ambassador. As... Hana struggled with the words. As family. If you want. Nari grabbed Do-hyun's hand again. Please stay, Guardian. Please. Do-hyun's mind raced. Going home meant safety. Familiarity. Returning to his old life. Staying meant risking everything on a hope for peace. It meant living with former enemies. It meant choosing a path no one else had walked. I need to talk to my sister, he said finally. They returned to the exchange chamber. Do-hyun asked for Ji-won to meet him in the neutral zone. The human official protested, but Ji-won overruled him. Brother and sister met in the middle, separated from everyone else by clear barriers. What's going on? Ji-won demanded. Why is that Valkyrie commander claiming you can't leave? It's complicated. Do-hyun took a breath. She's been protecting me. And I've been helping her try to find a path to peace. Peace? Do-hyun, we're at war. There is no peace. Not yet, but there could be. He met his sister's eyes. I saved a Valkyrie child during the battle. Took plasma fire for her. The commander is her mother. Because of that, I've seen something most humans never see. Valkyrie aren't monsters. They're just people. People we're killing and who are killing us, because neither side wants to stop first. Ji-won's expression softened. You want to stay? I think I need to. Not as a prisoner. As something else. As proof that this war doesn't have to last forever. Do-hyun gestured to Hana and Nari, watching from the Valkyrie side. That little girl calls me guardian. Her mother is trying to build peace. If I go back now, extremists on both sides will make sure I don't live long enough to tell anyone what I learned here. You're asking me to let you stay with the enemy. I'm asking you to trust me. Trust that I can do more good here than I can in a human uniform. Ji-won closed her eyes. When she opened them, they were wet. You always were too good for this war. Too kind. She smiled sadly. Okay. I'll tell command you're staying as a diplomatic liaison. Temporary assignment. That buys you some time. Thank you. Just promise me something, Ji-won said. Promise me you'll actually try to make this peace happen. Don't sacrifice yourself for nothing. Oh, I promise. The exchange continued. Other prisoners crossed the barrier, returning to their sides. But Do-hyun walked back to the Valkyrie side. When he reached Hana and Nari, the little girl threw her arms around him, crying with relief. Hana met his eyes. No, Do-hyun admitted. But I'm sure it's the right thing to try. Then we begin, Hana said. We try to end a war. It was an impossible task. Everyone knew it. But as they left the station together, Do-hyun felt something he hadn't felt in 5 months of captivity. He felt hope. Oh no. Oh no. 6 months after the failed prisoner exchange, Do-hyun stood in a room he never thought he would see. The Grand Council chamber, on the neutral station of Haven's Rest. Representatives from both human and Velkari governments filled the space, sitting on opposite sides, as if even here they couldn't bear to mix. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Hana stood at the center podium, her military dress uniform perfect, her posture commanding. She had fought for months to make this summit happen, pulled favors, made promises, called in every debt she had. And now, finally, both sides had agreed to listen. "Thank you for coming," Hana said, her voice translated simultaneously into both languages. "I know many of you do not want to be here. Many of you believe this war must continue until one side achieves total victory." Murmurs of agreement from both sides. Do-hyun watched from the Velkari delegation area. He was technically listed as a cultural consultant, whatever that meant. Really, he was there because Hana needed him to be. Because everything she was about to say depended on him. "I believe that too," Hana continued. 2 years ago, humans killed my mate. I wanted revenge. Wanted every human to pay for my loss." She paused. "Then I met one human who changed everything I thought I knew." She gestured to Do-hyun. Every eye in the room turned to him. He fought the urge to sink into his chair. "This is Do-hyun, human combat medic. During battle at Viridian 7, he found my daughter in the rubble. She was injured, separated from her unit. He had every reason to kill her or leave her to die. Instead, he protected her. He took 4 plasma strikes meant for her. Strikes that should have killed him." Hana activated a holographic display. Footage appeared, grainy and dark. Battle camera recordings from Velkari forces. The audience watched in silence as the images showed Do-hyun covering Nari with his own body, taking hit after hit, refusing to let go, even as his armor failed and his flesh burned. "Human physiology is remarkable," Hana said as the footage played. "They survive injuries that would kill most Velkari. Their pain tolerance is extraordinary. But this is not just about biology. This is about choice." The hologram shifted to medical scans. Do-hyun's injuries, mapped in clinical detail. Burns covering 30% of his body. Damaged muscle tissue. Cracked bones. The Velkari doctor's notes appeared alongside. Subject should not have survived. Human resilience exceeds all previous estimates. "Do-hyun did not have to protect my daughter," Hana said. "He chose to, and that choice has led us here today." A human delegate stood up. An older man with gray hair and a general's insignia. "Commander Hana, we appreciate this emotional appeal. But one act of individual kindness does not change the strategic realities of this war. The Velkari Empire invaded human colonies. You fired the first shots." A Velkari admiral rose from the other side. "Humans expanded into territory that was rightfully ours by ancient claim. You ignored all warnings. You forced our hand." The room erupted into argument. Accusations flew back and forth. Voices rose. Do-hyun saw Hana's plan falling apart before it had really begun. Then Nari walked into the room. She was 9 years old now, taller and more confident than the terrified child who had hidden in the rubble. She walked straight to the podium, climbed the steps, and stood beside her mother. The arguing stopped. Nobody had expected a child to be part of this. Nari spoke in Velkari, her voice young but clear. The translators carried her words to everyone. "My name is Nari. I am the daughter Commander Hana talks about. The human Do-hyun saved my life when he did not have to." She looked around the room, making eye contact with delegates on both sides. "I was scared. I was hurt. I thought I would die. Then he covered me with his body. He got hurt, so I would not get hurt. I did not understand why. He was enemy, but he protected me anyway." Nari turned to point at Do-hyun. "He still has scars, all over his back and legs. I have seen them. He will have them forever. Because of me. because he chose to save an enemy child. The room was utterly silent now. Nari continued. After the battle, he stayed with us. He could have tried to escape, could have hated us, but he became my friend. He taught me human words. I taught him Valkyrie games. He helped me when I had nightmares about the bombing. He is not enemy. He is family. She looked at her mother, then back at the assembly. If a human can protect a Valkyrie child, and a Valkyrie family can protect a human soldier, then why are we still fighting? Are adults not as smart as children? It was a simple question. Devastatingly simple. From the mouths of children, they say, comes truth. Nari had just spoken a truth that politicians and generals had been ignoring for 5 years. A human representative stood. Do-hyun recognized her uniform. She was from the medical corps. May I speak with the human who saved the child? Kantler. Hana nodded to Do-hyun. He stood, his legs unsteady, and walked to the podium. Facing his own people felt stranger than living among Valkyrie. Medic Do-hyun, the representative said. Can you tell us why you protected an enemy child? Do-hyun took a breath. She was just a kid, scared and bleeding. In that moment, she wasn't Valkyrie or enemy. She was just someone who needed help. He paused. I'm a medic. I swore to preserve life. That oath didn't have species requirements. And after? Another human delegate asked. They kept you prisoner for months. How were you treated? I was treated with honor, Do-hyun said. Commander Hana protected me according to her laws. Her daughter became like family to me. I learned that Valkyrie aren't the monsters we've been told they are. They're just people. People who have lost loved ones, just like we have. People who want the fighting to stop, just like we do. A Valkyrie counselor spoke up. You speak of honor and family, but you are human. How do we know this is not trick? Propaganda? To make us lower our guard? Before Do-hyun could answer, alarms screamed through the station. Emergency lights flashed red. Security forces rushed into the chamber. Explosion in Docking Bay 3, someone shouted. Multiple hostiles. Both human and Valkyrie targets. The extremists had made their move. The ones who wanted the war to continue forever. Who saw peace as betrayal. They had coordinated an attack, hoping to destroy the summit and everyone in it. All delegates to secure locations. A security officer ordered. Now. But the chamber's main door suddenly sealed shut. The security override had been hacked. They were trapped. Through the chamber's windows, Do-hyun could see armed figures moving through the station corridors. Both human and Valkyrie extremists. Working together to ensure peace, failed. The irony was bitter. The only cooperation between the species came from those who wanted to keep killing each other. Hana grabbed her communicator. All available security forces converge on Grand Chamber. We are under attack. She looked at Do-hyun. This is bad. Yeah. He agreed. We need to get everyone to safety. Is there another way out? Maintenance tunnels. But we would need to defend this position while evacuating. Hana's mind was already working tactically. We are outnumbered. Station security is engaged with main attack force. Do-hyun looked around the room. Politicians and diplomats. Not soldiers. They would be slaughtered if the extremists breached the chamber. Unless, we have soldiers here, Do-hyun said. Humans and Valkyrie. Your guards. Our security detail. Maybe 20 combatants total, if we combine forces. Hana understood immediately. You suggest we fight together? Human and Valkyrie forces, united? It's either that, or we all die separately. Your choice. For a moment, Hana hesitated. Then she raised her voice, speaking in Valkyrie and waiting for translation. All Valkyrie security personnel. You are now under joint command. We will coordinate with human forces to defend this chamber and evacuate delegates. A human security captain stood up. He looked at his own commanders, then at Hana, then at the sealed doors. Human security forces acknowledge joint command. Defensive positions, everyone. What happened next would be talked about for years afterward. Humans and Velkari, species that had been killing each other for half a decade, working together seamlessly to protect everyone in that chamber. They set up overlapping fields of fire, shared ammunition and equipment. A human medic and a Velkari medical officer worked side by side, treating a wounded delegate. Do-hyun found himself coordinating evacuation routes with a Velkari tactical officer named Minho. They got the non-combatants moving through the maintenance tunnels, while the combined security force held the main entrance. The extremists breached the door 20 minutes into the evacuation. They came in fast and aggressive, expecting easy targets. Instead, they ran into coordinated fire from both human and Velkari weapons. The attackers faltered, confused by what they were seeing. Their whole worldview was based on humans and Velkari being unable to work together. The reality in front of them didn't match. It took another 30 minutes to fully secure the area. Station security, rallied by the news that the summit delegates were defending themselves together, pushed back the extremists from all sides. The attack failed. More importantly, it failed in a way that proved Hana's point better than any speech could have. When the fighting ended, Do-hyun found himself standing in the middle of the grand chamber, surrounded by humans and Velkari who had just fought side by side. They were catching their breath, treating minor wounds, and looking at each other with something like wonder. One of the human delegates, the old general who had been skeptical before, approached Hana. "That was unexpected?" Hana supplied. "1. Anna. Effective," the general corrected. "We coordinated like we'd been training together for years, because the principles of tactical defense are universal," Hana said. "And because when faced with common threat, old enemies become less important than survival." The Velkari admiral who had argued earlier joined them. "I have fought humans for 4 years. Never thought I would fight alongside them." He looked at the human security forces who had helped defend the chamber. It felt natural. Over the next 3 days, negotiations continued. But now they had something they didn't have before. Proof. Proof that humans and Velkari could work together. Proof that cooperation was not only possible, but effective. The attack had been meant to destroy the summit. Instead, it had made peace inevitable. The treaty they signed was called the Viridian Accords, named after the planet where Do-hyun had first saved Nari. It wasn't a perfect peace. There were still hardliners on both sides who opposed it, but it was a start. On the last day of the summit, Hana stood before the assembly one final time. "Commander Do-hyun has fulfilled his service to my family. The life debt is paid in full." Do-hyun stood as she spoke, unsure what was coming next. Hana continued, "But debts of honor are not the same as bonds of family. Therefore, I ask him now, not as commander to soldier, but as one person to another. Will you stay? Not because you must, but because you choose to." Every eye in the room turned to Do-hyun. He thought about Earth, about his old life. He thought about the months he'd spent with Hana and Nari, about the little girl who called him guardian. He thought about the peace they'd just built, fragile and new and needing protection. "Yes," Do-hyun said. "I'll stay." Nari's happy cry echoed through the chamber. She ran to him, and he picked her up, laughing despite the formal setting. Hana smiled. Really smiled. For the first time since he'd known her. 3 years later, Do-hyun taught at the Joint Military Academy on Viridian 7, rebuilt on the site of the old battlefield. His students were both human and Velkari, learning to work together from the start. He taught combat medicine, but more importantly, he taught them about the choice he'd made that night when he protected an enemy child. Nari, now 12, often visited his classes. She wanted to be a medic too, she said. Wanted to save lives like her guardian. Hana had been promoted to head the joint peacekeeping forces that patrolled the border regions. The scars on Do-hyun's back had faded some, but they would never fully disappear. He didn't mind. They reminded him that some things were worth the pain. Some choices mattered more than safety or comfort. And sometimes, the hardest thing to do was also the most important thing. The war had ended. The peace was still young, still fragile, but it was real, built on one act of compassion in the middle of a battlefield, protected by ancient laws and honor, and proven by humans and Valkyrie who chose to see past their differences. Do-hyun had taken the strikes for an enemy child. Her mother had refused to let him leave. And together, they had changed everything.